You Wake? I'm Paul Farahvar, your host. If you're listening to this podcast, go over and watch it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/paulfcomedy. I'll wait. This week, we have comedian Alex Ortiz joining us. Make sure you follow him as well. Follow me on Instagram at Paul Farahvar. Check out my website, paulfcomedy, for upcoming dates. Subscribe to the podcast. Share it. Tell your friends. And also check out our sponsors. Hey, gang. As some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. You love sex. Everyone does. Have you ever used sex toys? Ever wanted to? Or you just feel weird about the whole thing? Well, Love Shop Toys has been in the business of destigmatizing sex toys for years, 20 years. You want a sex toy? Go to loveshoptoys.com and check out their huge variety of options. Whether you're straight, gay, trans, whatever you're into, Love Shop Toys has something for you. And if you're uncomfortable about it, guess what? They send things discreetly so no one has to know about whatever you're into. And even if you're not very active in the sex toy business, check it out. loveshoptoys.com. They send you everything, and it's free shipping for everything over $69. In addition to the free shipping, if you use the code AWAKE69, you get 20% off your whole purchase. That's right, AWAKE69. Go to loveshoptoys.com/awake69 right now and get your stuff. Get your toys. Have some fun. You're welcome. Why Are You Awake podcast this week features comedian Alex Ortiz. Alex, thank you for doing the podcast.
Paul, I'm glad to be here, man.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we boys. I enjoy hanging out with you. So
I was prefacing this podcast by telling you my first interaction with you. I was on the road, and I got matched up featuring for you in a city which shall remain nameless.
Right.
And I asked around. People are like, "Hey, do you guys know this Alex Ortiz guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, he's funny." And then I'm like, "All right, I'm going to be with him all weekend. I think he's going to be at the condo. We have to share a condo." Yeah. I get there, and you're already there, and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to go get food and get a car wash." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And you rented a car, and you got a car wash for the rental. You're like, it was only $1. I had to take advantage of it. I'm like, but it's not even your car. It's like, this guy's a fucking weirdo. That was my first impression of you.
Yeah, I'm a freak about my car being clean.
Yeah, but it wasn't your car.
Doesn't
you drove
matter.
from Chicago too, which it was like a 12-hour drive or something like that. And then we do the show on Thursday, and I'm like, all right, well, I just flew in. We had a good show, and then you go, let's go have a drink. And I don't really drink, but I'm like, you know what? I'll have a drink. It's fucking tomorrow. We have 2 shows. I'll figure it out. Thought it was going to be an easy night. Thought it was going to be just like, one night, had a couple of drinks, a lot of people. We went to a bar near the club, so all the people from the show were there. A lot of your fans were there. Next thing you know, we're having a party at the condo we're staying at, which we're not. The rule that they had there was like, don't bring anyone there. And you're like, rules don't apply to me. I know the owner. I was like, okay. Not only was there drinking, drugs started making a cameo. At the time, I hadn't done drugs in a while. And we partied our nuts off that night. And I just remember it was like daylight. Yeah. And I was like, what? We still have 4 more shows.
That was an average
Thursday.
That was an average Thursday night for me at a comedy club. Yeah. I partied all night, especially in the cities that we were in, because I had people there for years.
Yeah.
So one of the guys I knew ran a growery. He was growing. He had a big weed growery, and he would come in and put a big mason jar and just drop it on the table and say, "That's for you, and for the week." And I'm like, "Shit, what am I gonna do with this?" And then the coke would come, and then I'd be up all night long just doing lots,
not just pot. And there were different people that were giving you. It wasn't just one person.
No, everybody gave me drugs. Yeah,
it was like a scene from like the '90s where you see, where I heard back then. Comedians were just handed drugs at shows.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it still happens from time to time.
Yeah, well, for me, I started comedy '99, something like that, and somewhere right in the 2000 era. And when I first started doing comedy, the green room was just a debauchery den. Yeah. Like, I mean, there'd be cocaine on the fucking tables.
Right.
And, we'd be drinking hard, and there'd be naked girls coming in and out of the, And I remember I did a show with Pauly Shore. And I opened for Pauly Shore. And the green room was an amazing freaking place that time, dog. It was insane. That's how I started comedy in that era. And I was not, like, I've always been kind of an animal. And I've never met a drug I didn't like, honestly. I was that guy.
Well, back then, I saw pictures of you in the 90s. You don't look anything like you look now.
No.
It's like Benjamin Buttons. Yeah. You look way better now. You're a lot older than you were back in the 90s, sir. But you were a big dude and not healthy looking.
Well, what happened was I was always in good shape because I was I joined the Army at 18, became a nurse and a firefighter. So I worked out all the way until I became a comedian, and then I went broke because as a feature MC trying to make this, you don't make no money. So I ate free food, which was bar food. I drank all the free beer, and then the partying started, and you're drinking all this free liquor, and it just, I went to 277 before I knew what happened. I mean, I went from I was about 210, and I was 277. Yeah. But I was kind of stocky in that. And then I just went to 277, fat and sloppy, man. And yeah.
Where did you start comedy? Where
it was in Chicago. All jokes aside. Yeah.
All jokes aside.
Yeah. Well, Damon Williams, who's going to be on the show with me this week. He's kind of my mentor. The first day I went up on stage, he was like, "Yo, that was crazy." And he said, "Can you come back next week and do it again?" And I wrote another 5 minutes and went back and did a different 5 minutes. And he goes, "That wasn't what you did last week." And I said, "Well, I didn't know you were." He goes, "No, I wanted you to do the same shit you did last week." So then I came back the next week, and it was one of the most epic moments for me because Bernie Mac was in the room. All jokes aside,
there's a documentary about it.
It's one of the most.
Yeah,
it's great. I mean, Mary Lindsay, who ran the place, and they were like, she was one of my biggest fans. But Bernie Mac came around the corner. I just got off stage.
Was he already big?
Oh, he was. He had just done Friday.
Okay.
He had already done, the Def Jam where I ain't scared of you, motherfucker. Yeah. So he came around the corner and he said, "Come here, motherfucker." Yeah. So she said, "My name Bernie Mac." I said, "I know you." I said, "You funny than a motherfucker." "I got a room on Tuesday nights, Alex. I want you to come down to my room on Tuesday nights." And he had a little room called Treniers. And he would sit on stage. There would be this jazz band playing, and then he would just stop the music and he'd start talking. And Bernie Mac was an immaculate showman.
Yeah.
And he was kind of coaching me in the beginning. And between him, Damon Williams, Dion Cole, Tony Schofield, George Wilborn, these guys that I came up with, they started me out in comedy. And I started opening for them on the road before I knew what I was featuring all the time. Like me and Dion Cole have traveled the whole country, the whole world actually together. And, and Damon Williams has been like the coolest guy ever. But it started there at All Jokes Aside. And I mean, I started out a young black comic. That's the way I say it.
Which is funny because you don't look like you're black, but then you start telling jokes and you're like, wait, is he?
Well, yeah, my dad is black, but he's a black Puerto Rican. So I have that joke that I'm half black, half Puerto Rican. And my website is actually www.spigger.com.
Right.
It's been that for 20-something years because I bought it immediately when I came up with the word. And, I started out in the black comedy clubs because back in the day, there was no Latin comedy in Chicago when I started. None. It wasn't until me and Mikey started it that it became something here.
At that time, in terms of Latin comedians, there was Pablo Rodriguez in L.A., right?
Yeah. Well, Paul Rodriguez. And then there was Pablo Francisco.
Right.
George Lopez. You know, of course, we had the Cheech and Chong back in the day. But to me,
Chicago, there was nothing.
There was nothing in Chicago.
Yeah.
It was either you do All Jokes Aside or you did the Funny Firm. And the Funny Firm, I was like standing in line forever and I never get on stage. But All Jokes Aside, they were like, man, put this guy up. And then the advantage I had was that whenever they had a comedy club coming up or somebody said, hey, man, I need a Latin comic, the only one they knew was me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was making, I was on Comic View 9 months after I started comedy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that help you at all back then in terms of being on? Like,
oh, yeah.
There was a credit that actually mattered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back then, Comic View, I say that the first time I got recognized was at Cook County Jail in Chicago. What I didn't know at the time was that everybody in jail watched Comic View, like religiously. Like they would shut down the whole jail to watch Comic View. And so I got arrested in Skokie, Illinois. You know, small misunderstanding between me, a state trooper, and a small bag of what I still say was Dr. Scholl's foot powder. So I got locked up and went to jail. And
how old were you?
I was 40 something. Yeah, first time ever been locked up. I was scared out of my mind.
Yeah.
And you know, sitting at the table and this black stud's just staring at me, and I'm thinking, oh God, I don't want to suck his dick. I just got here, you know. And he just kept staring at me like, where I know you from, dog? I'm like, I don't know, man. I ain't never been in trouble, nothing. It's my first time ever been in jail. He said, you was on Comic View. And at the time, I'd already done Comic View for like 3 seasons. And I said, yeah, I was on Comic View like 3-4 times. And he jumped up in the middle of the cafeteria. He was on my mama. This nigga was on Comic View.
Yeah.
And everything changed. After that, the whole weekend I was in jail. I was treated like royalty for the whole weekend. People were just bringing me my slippers.
Bringing you cigarettes.
Yeah. Hey, man, Comic View. Come on, man.
That's
It's breakfast.
hilarious.
Yeah. So it was, but yeah, I did that. And then what happened is after that, I did Showtime at the Apollo. Wow. When it came on after Saturday Night Live. And I won the comedy championship. I actually beat Coco Brown for the comedy championship. And Coco and me were really close friends at the time because we'd done Comic View together. I mean, that's where I met all the big stars.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you ever move from Chicago to do comedy?
I went to LA for a couple years.
Yeah.
But the 2-city thing, I couldn't do it. I'm a family man first. Mm-hmm. I'm all about my kids and my wife, always.
So you already had a family at that time?
I already had a family, and they were here. And I went to L.A., and things were getting hot. But me and Tiffany Haddish were hanging out doing the Laugh Factory, and I was doing all that stuff with them. And Ali Wong, we were all hanging out. And at one point, what had happened was I had bought some chinchillas for my kids, and the chinchilla died. And my 13-year-old son was on FaceTime with me crying, and I was trying to explain to him that death was just part of life. And I thought to myself, I can't do this. I got to go home. Yeah, you know.
Jesus, that sucks.
Yeah, but I mean, I was making a lot of noise in LA, and then I had to come back here. But I've had the opportunity with I did Def Jam. I mean, Bad Boys of Comedy with P. Diddy. I didn't even have to have sex with him. It was awesome. I didn't get invited to the party or nothing, man. But I was fat then. Maybe they didn't want to fuck me because I was fat.
You're lucky
I don't know.
you were fat.
Yeah, I was lucky I was fat. Right.
I think you were too old for him, probably.
Probably too old as well.
Kids.
Yeah, he likes him.
Allegedly, we don't know yet. So when you started comedy, it was the end of the comic boom that people were talking about in the 80s, right? And then when did you start noticing shit start coming back up in terms of comedy? Like we're in terms like right now we're in a fucking boom.
Yeah.
Right? Comedy's everywhere.
Yeah.
In the 2000s, I heard it was like shows weren't like that.
Yeah, no, it was hard to get work. You'd had to send, but I mean, back in the day, we were sending mail packages.
Yeah.
You'd have to put a video, a VHS inside an envelope with and mail it out, and then you'd have to send like 40, 50 VHS to get one booking, you know.
Right.
And then it got to the point where it was emails, and you were sending emails to everybody and stuff. Yeah, it was crazy for a while there.
And then when did you start noticing it start blowing up again?
Right before COVID, right?
Really?
A little bit before COVID. It started like a couple years before COVID. It was
2018.
Just, everything was crazy. We're working everywhere.
Right.
And then, blam, it shut down.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Were you, so when you doing all these shows on the road, you're opening in these towns, were you partying all the time at that time back then?
Yeah.
Or would you ever take nights off?
I was an animal. I never stopped partying. I mean, it wasn't, I'm clean and sober now.
Right.
But there was a time, dude, where I I did every drug that I could. I was in Iowa City doing a college, and some guys came up to me after the show. It's like, dude, man, you're like so funny, man. We'd be so honored if you came back to our dorm and tripped shrooms with us. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. And it was the first time ever doing shrooms, you know. But I was that guy. I didn't care what it was. Let's do it.
Any city.
It didn't matter. Yeah, every city. Even after I did Bad Boys, I went out and partied that night and showed up to the after party just geeked out of my mind.
Did they get you in trouble?
Oh yeah, I blew a bunch of shit because of my drinking and partying. I probably would have been a lot bigger than I was. You know.
Did you do your apology tour yet?
No. You know what? The thing is that I messed up so bad. I think people still like look at me and they go, you know, this guy's a fucking animal. We can't have him in this, you know. But there were clubs that loved me, and no matter what I did, they didn't care. They were like, he comes in the show, he does the work, crushes every time, you know, and they didn't care. But there were clubs that were like, no. I know I messed up with one club in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
I messed up big time. But I was partying hard that weekend, and I had a friend flying in from Chicago, and he flew in late. So I was on my way to the show, and I was like running. We got out of the car and ran to the club because I knew I had to open up. And I was working with I can't remember his name. He's huge, but I had to open, and I was killing, and he was.
Which you're not supposed to do when you're open.
When you're open, you're not supposed to kill. And the owner came up to me and said, hey, man, I need you to, like, calm it down. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I need you to be less funny. And I was like, Mark Maron.
Oh, yeah.
And it's two different styles of comedy. I'm in your face. I'm high energy. And Mark Maron is really the dude's hilarious. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, he's a legend. The guy's a demigod.
Well, even he says those years he was struggling at the clubs because he was low energy and he was partying a lot too.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just that weekend, I was killing the whole weekend. And so Friday night, the guy tells me, you know, I need you to calm down. I need you to be less funny. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm a comic. You know, I'm supposed to come up here and kill every time. And he goes, no, I'm trying to protect my headliner. And I didn't understand the game at the time. I never really understood the business part of it. I just kind of was a comic. I'm a joke teller. And so I got Saturday night, I was hammered. I called Damon Williams, and I said, hey, man, they're telling me to be less funny. I don't know what to do. He said, Alex, you're a machine gunner. He said, you like to bang, 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 bang. He said, just slow down, take a breath, and let it, flow. And, of course, I didn't do that. So I went up the first show and killed again. And so he came up to me and he's like, hey, man, I'm serious. You need to calm down. He goes, one day you're going to be the headliner. I'm going to have to protect you. And I was like, nah, me, motherfucker. I'm a killer. Yeah. You got to worry about me. And so I went up the second show and I was pretty drunk as shit. And I did the same joke twice. And I went, did I just do that joke twice? And the whole audience laughed. And I said, I'm sorry. They told me not to be funny.
Oh, no.
On stage. And so I could see Mark jump off his chair and run across the room and get into the owner's face. And I knew at that moment I had fucked up. Yeah. I knew it. I was standing there going, oh, what a stupid asshole. And when I came off the stage, the owner grabbed me, put his hand on me, and I'm still from Humboldt Park, dog. Yeah. You don't touch me.
That's West Side, probably. Outside of Chicago.
I was still like, did you just put your hands on me? And it did to him in front of the whole staff. Like, the whole staff saw him shrink.
Yeah.
Because I started to puff up. And
you're already puffed up.
Yeah. And then, right. And I scared him. Yeah. I know I scared him, and I didn't, but at the time, like I said, I was drunk, but he touched me and, did it kind of rough. And my first instinct was to beat the shit out of him, And so he blackballed me for years. And he was one of the...
He told other clubs too?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then he was, when I went to do Comedy Central the first time, I went to the first time to do, it was called Laugh Riots. They had a contest.
Yeah.
It was called Laugh Riots. And the first time I went, I destroyed this room and didn't place. And so I was like, wow, that would suck. But he was one of the judges.
Oh, fuck him.
And then the next year I went back and did it again and crushed and didn't play. I think he came in third. And as everybody was walking past me at the door, they were like, "Yo, you got robbed, man. That was crazy. I can't believe it." And so one of the people from Comedy Central, Jeannie Garofalo was her name. She was like, what was her name? Jenny something.
Oh, not Jeannie
Garofalo. No, it was Jenny something. And she said, she just walked over to me and said, "You know what, just come do Premium Blend." So I went and did Premium Blend.
Nice.
And that was, so
Fuck those guys.
Yeah. But I mean, I killed myself.
Yeah.
Because of the partying. I blew so many opportunities because of my drinking and partying.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then you're sober now. You should go back and
reach
out to Mark Maron and be like,
is,
"You remember that show? Get on his show. He'll fucking put you back on the map."
The hard thing is a lot of people have some people have long memories, man.
Yeah, I know. But as long as you show that you've learned and you've what is it called? Reinstitution. What's the word from Shawshank Redemption where you're reevaluated, whatever the fuck.
Yeah. Well, it was Oscar Orlando Leyva who said, the people who were there when you were fucking up, they're not in charge anymore.
Yeah.
So you can probably start again and try all over. So that's what I'm doing now. You have all
the credits too.
Yeah.
And you, I mean, I've seen you crush any type of room. There's no fucking.
I just have fun.
Yeah.
What I've noticed in comedy is, first off, if I can make the crowd like me, I can get away with murder.
Yeah.
That's pretty much my first goal, is to make them like me. And the only problem is I couldn't make the owners like me.
Right. Well, no, I remember I had done a weekend with you and out of town. And then you and I were on a show at the Laugh Factory. And it was like a very young crowd. Like I was like 20s and something. And this is like during COVID or when Chicago opened up again. And it was a young crowd. I was like, oh, man. Because I saw your stuff, but we were doing shows in rural America.
Right.
I was like, oh man, I wonder how he's gonna do. And fucking, you fucking murdered all these kids. They were like 20 to 24 at a show, and everybody after the show was coming up to you. You did all this stuff like you just knew.
Yeah.
You knew what to do.
It's just part of the whole game. You kind of feel it. I know where I'm going. Right. And I get that feeling. And once I start flowing, any comic, once you start flowing, it's like, bang. And then there are nights where you're hitting threes out of the corner with your eyes closed, like Michael Jordan.
Well, I mean, even when I work with you, I know, I've worked with a lot of comedians that, like, when you open, I always go and talk to them. I'm like, hey, is there anything you don't want me to do? And whatever. And you're like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
I remember I fucking crushed on the road with you. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then you went up and everyone forgot who I was by the time you were halfway through your set.
See, when I started comedy, we did, all jokes aside, we would have to go do the open mic and get followed by Cedric the Entertainer, or we have to follow Cedric. We'd have to follow Bernie. I mean, that was the room we were in. Yeah. You'd get in there and Earthquake would come in, and you'd have to follow Earthquake and some more. I mean, these are huge stars now, right? They're killers. And I mean, and you would have, that was the night. Mary would come up to you and say, well, okay, look, Bernie's going to go up and then Cedric's going to go up and then we're going to put you up. And you're like, the fuck?
I mean, I think Chicago comedy we have such high standards, especially if you were born and bred here or you like started here. A lot of people transfer here and they get good and they leave. Yeah. And they leave to somewhere better or whatever. Right. But like we were taught at Laugh Factory, it's a showcase club. Same thing, Bozeman's going to come and do a set. Chris Red's in town. He's going to do a set before you. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Right.
But you learn to ride the wave that someone created for you.
Yeah, yeah. That's part of the game. And then Chicago comics, we were family. Yeah. All of us. When we went to Comic View the first time, there was a busload of us on the way to the taping. And it was all of us together. And it was like just...
Where did they tape it?
The first time we taped was in L.A. Okay. And then we did Georgia. We did Stone Mountain, and then we did Louisiana, New Orleans. And I mean, but the first time we went, we all went together, and it was the coolest bus ride on the way to Comic View because it was Damon Williams, it was me, it was Marcus Combs, it was Ray Lapowski, it was Tony Schofield, George Wilbur. We all rode the bus there, and when we got there, it was like, it's our house. Yeah. It was no fear. Yeah, we just took the whole place over. Yeah. I think the coolest memory I have of Comic View was Corey Holcomb. Oh, yeah. I used to open for Corey Holcomb back in the day when I first started comedy. I'd be on the road with him, and Corey Holcomb gave me one of the coolest compliments that I think he could have ever gave me. Was we were on stage after we'd done the show, we were cruising. He said, "You know what I like about you, Alex?" He said, "You're a real nigga." And I was like, damn, coming from Corey Holcomb, that means something. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? It was a weird thing for him to say to me, but he said it to me, and he went to Comic View, and we had done Comic View twice, and he couldn't get on because he was too raw, and he finally got on, and of course he destroyed. But we were in the dressing room, and there was these guys, and Corey had them all scared shitless. Like they were worried about Corey, like he was going to kill him in the dressing room. And he told this one guy, he said, "Man, when you get on stage, for every joke you tell that they don't get a laugh, I'm gonna take something off." And when the guy got back to the dressing room, Corey was standing there in his underwear, dog. It was one of the coolest moments ever,
That's
man.
fucked up.
Yeah. That's Corey, though.
So now we fast forward. You back then there was never a night where you just took off and fucking chilled, right? You
No.
were just partying all the time.
I was partying all the time. And that's how I got divorced the first time, because my wife was like, "This, he's an animal now." I was lost.
Yeah.
I was lost.
So what happened after that? After your divorce, you moved back to Chicago.
No, I was divorced, and then I got remarried, and then I
Okay.
went to LA. But the wife that I have now, we've been together for 22 years now.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you've been staying in Chicago. You've been based here.
Yeah.
And you've been sober now. And even before you were sober, you were obviously taking it way more easy than back then.
Oh yeah. I had to slow down because when you get kids again, brazen boys, you can't come in the house fucked up all the time. You know what I'm saying? So you had to, and it was my wife Sandra who changed all that about me. She
Yeah.
was like, "No, not here."
So what do you do now on the road when you can't, after a show, you're still wired, right?
Yeah.
You can't fall asleep.
Yeah.
What do you do now to?
I just, I hang out. I'll have
Yeah.
some coffee and talk a little while, but I'm not gonna party all night. I'm not gonna do that anymore.
do you still stay up late and not drink or anything? Or you go to bed
I
early
stay
now?
up a little bit, but not too late
Okay.
anymore.
And what do you do on the road then? Let's say you're in fucking Iowa City.
Yeah.
Those kids come up to you again, say, "Do you want to shoot me?" You're like, "No, thanks, I don't do that."
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock in Iowa. Show's done. Everything's closed.
Yeah.
You go back to your hotel. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna read.
Really?
I'm gonna read. I'm learning. I'm doing the whole Buddhist thing now. I'm into Buddhism.
A lot of people are doing that.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. Well, I've been doing that for a couple of years.
Forgiving people, is that part of it?
That was a big part of it. Yeah, yeah. And meditating and just getting into myself. So yeah, it's been a big change. But my wife says that she loves the sober me more than that crazy animal that was always, because she was always worried about getting phone calls at 4 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you productive after shows in terms of like, can you write after shows, or when do you write?
Yeah, I write when I'm driving.
Okay.
That's what the long drives are for. That's the weirdest thing is I'm driving, all of a sudden I go, "Oh, that's funny," and I'll
Are you
kinda jot
listening
it
to your
down.
sets and writing, or no?
No, I don't listen to my sets.
You don't
anymore.
listen to anymore?
No, and that's the thing that I wish I could change about me is I'm not into the whole social media thing. I don't.
It's hard.
Yeah, I just don't like it. It kills me to see everybody on their phone all the
Right.
time. It just drives me crazy. I'm too old. You know what I'm saying? I'm the generation before smartphones.
Yeah, but a lot of comedians in your generation figured out, because you have so many fucking clips with all the comic views, all your premium blend, all that
Yeah.
stuff. You have someone chop that up for you and put it up. All of a sudden, people are like, "Oh yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
fucking guy." And it's gonna. A couple comedians did that because they weren't getting booked off,
Right.
And they blew up. And then now they're doing like Vegas everywhere. They're doing clubs,
Yeah.
A-rooms and shit like that.
I'm looking to learn how to do it now. My son works on my website, and I'm trying to learn how to chop up. But I have no computer
I figured
skills.
out some of it on my own, but
Yeah.
that's why I got Justin over here. He figured all that shit out.
So you need somebody like Justin.
Yeah, if you have like a 30-minute set, that's like, let's cut those up in 30-second, 45-second
Yeah.
things. That's a lot. You just from one special, you probably have like enough clips to last you for a year, maybe.
And that's what
depending
people say when they look me
Yeah.
up online. Like they'll put in Alex Ortiz comedian, and I'm the first thing. If they put in my name, I'm the first person that
Right.
pops up, and then they go, "Well,
on,
you
which
got
is
so
crazy.
much
It's
stuff."
a common name.
Yeah, but I mean, you got so much stuff, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of work. I've got all the credits.
Right.
Yeah, HBO, Comedy Central, Showtime. I've done them all.
Yeah.
And it's just weird that I blew a lot of chances myself.
Right.
And I know I did. But
Well,
now I'm trying to
Buddhism's
rebuild.
for.
Yeah, I'm trying to rebuild it all and, get back to where I could be.
Why don't you hit up Mark Maron and be like, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but can I do your I mean, I know someone recently that reached out to him because she wanted to get just to promote whatever she was producing. And he's like, yeah, I remember you.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That's a good idea.
Unless you fucking punched him.
No.
Did you hang out with him at all?
No.
This podcast is.
I tell you what, the thing that kills me is in LA too was I'm not a sycophant. I know a lot of comics I had a roommate I loved to death, one of my best friends in the world. But the minute we got to a comedy club, I couldn't stand him because he was in these guys' faces all, oh man, I love you, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love everything you do, man. Oh my God, you're like a god to me, man. And I'll do anything to work with you, man. And I couldn't stand that about him, So I'm not that guy.
You don't have to be that guy, but just people watch you, see your sets, they're gonna be like, I want that guy.
Wow. And I'm hoping to get back to that point. Yeah.
Well, this podcast will definitely help. We'll get you all kinds of shows in Iowa City and Dubuque. Yeah. I don't know.
There we go.
So you write on the road. That's your fucking thing.
And when I'm alone, because if I'm
when
home,
are you alone?
When I'm on the road.
That's the only time.
It's the only time I'm alone. I mean, I'm at home. I'm with the kids. I'm constantly. I love the garden. I love the garden. So old. I'm old, dude. I have a bird feeder, and I sit there with my coffee and watch the birds eat, and that's how old I am.
Do you take bread to the park and sit at
Not yet, but that's coming. I can see that coming.
When was the last time you did a show where like you were just wired and you're like, man, I want to go party, and you're like, fuck, I can't party.
Yeah, I haven't had the urge. I have no desire anymore.
You don't even have one drink after a show or anything?
Yeah. No, because I know if I have that one drink, I'm going to end up right back in that place. And I was clean and sober for 2 years. And then my birthday came and somebody bought me a bottle of Hennessy. And I took that first drink of Hennessy. And 6 months later, I was fucking doing lines off the fucking, you know what I'm saying? So I know I'm a very addictive personality. If I like doing something, I do it all the time. So I don't drink because if I do have that one drink, I'm going to go right back off into the darkness.
So how do you stay like away from temptation and shit like that after shows?
They really can't. There's always temptation, and there's always people who come, and people who know me from years, and they'll come up and say, "Hey, man, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not that guy anymore, man." Yeah, but
has there been any time, any of the stories you can tell where you were like, you looked around the room, other than when you got arrested in Skokie, but were there times where you're like, fuck, I wish I didn't stay out tonight? Like you're like,
oh yeah.
What are some of the ones that you could talk about that you're like from your days where you're like, fuck?
The time that I was at a bar with some friends and we started drinking and partying hard, and at 2:30 we closed the bar.
Where is this at?
Oh, in Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah, that was around. I had a friend of mine owned a bar, so we were sitting there and it closed the bar, and then we started playing poker, and at 8:00 in the morning, the sun came in the window, and I was married to the crazy woman that I'm married to now. And I was like, son, I gotta go. When the sun came in, that's when it hit me that I was in trouble. And as I say, it's my favorite story about my wife. She hit me with her car.
She hit you with
I was driving home, scared. It was 7:30 in the morning, 8:00 in the morning, and I was stopped at a red light, and there was a cop on the other side, the other red light on the other side of the street, 2 blocks from the house. And all of a sudden, you're from behind, and I get smashed from the back. So I jumped out the car like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of whoever this is, and it was her. So I'm like, shit, and she's like, you know what time it is? It's 8:00 in the morning. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're supposed to be home. And the cop, whoop, 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 turned on his lights, and he pulled up next to her, and he's like, hey, are you fucking crazy? Didn't you see me sitting right there? How you just gonna hit him? And I say, man, don't talk to her like that. That's my wife. And he just turned off his lights and said, good luck, and drove off.
Only in Indiana.
Only in Indiana, man. Yeah. So that was
fucking hit you.
She hit me with her car. Yeah, smashed right into the back of my car with her car.
Yeah,
she's crazy.
That's why I'm never getting married. That's insane.
That's why I'm never leaving her, man. That's the kind of woman I need.
That would scare the shit out of me.
Oh yeah, no, she's a straight G. She's a gangster.
Have you had situations where are there times where you look back, you're like, okay, I should call that person, like whether it's one of the bigger names or one, and be like, hey, I should apologize and just be like,
I
hey, dude.
I wish I could remember all the people I've wronged. I just just partied so hard that there was times that there was
I
years.
know you were crushing at those shows, so it's not like this. All of a sudden, you weren't funny and they stopped hanging out with you. You must have done something when you were fucked up.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, I know. In Cleveland, the Improv was one of those clubs that I did all the time. I was headlining Cleveland after a while, and the guy loved me, but I would get booked here and there, and I asked him, I said, why can't I just keep getting booked here? He said, man, you're a fucking animal. He said, when you leave the condo, it looks like there was a war in there and shit, and that's, I didn't understand that fucking up the condo.
Like
yeah, they remember that shit. And one time, the guy in, there's a jukebox comedy club.
Oh yeah.
Dan, I love the guy, but he caught me one time just out of my mind, and he's never talked to me since.
Wow.
Yeah, just one time, and then
if these people know that you're sober now, I bet you they'll be like, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah, no. I even sent him, apologies in an email, and he never answered me back. I don't know, I'd fucked up, and I'm sorry, and I'm not that guy anymore. But it takes a while to get past that stigma of being that fucking animal. You
need to get your social media up so people remember who you are and get back out there.
I agree.
Do it.
I'm trying.
That's what this is a whole this is just a rehab thing for you. We're just this whole thing is just what is it called? An intervention.
Yeah, the whole thing's an intervention.
Whole podcast.
And it's cool because even today when I walked into the Laugh Factory, hey, can I get you a drink? And I was like, nah, I'm good. You know? But Bob knows. He's like, Alex is a Hennessy man. He's gonna pour me a Hennessy. I'm like, nah, it's not no more. But, it takes a while to get past that stigma. Even now, if I go to L.A., those people look at me like, that's that freaking animal. Jamie Masada calls me the alcoholic.
Really?
Yeah, the first time he ever met me.
He's never even in the club anymore.
No, but he called me an alcoholic the first time he met me. I didn't even know he knew who I was. But what had happened was I was in the Vegas room, the Vegas Laugh Factory, and I was drinking hard that week. And, of course, Vegas is that town where you can get anything you want at any time. And the bartenders were taking care of me the whole week. And so this lady came in Saturday night, and I went to go get a drink. And she charged me. And I was like, they haven't charged me all week. And why are you charging me now? And she said, well, we have to charge you. And I said, okay, well, I'll pay for it. And then she poured me a Hennessy. She said, well, if I'm going to pay for it, why don't you pour some fucking real Hennessy? Why don't you pour a real drink? And that screwed up everything. Just that one
Well,
line.
they probably had to start charging you because you were drinking so much.
Probably because I was drinking so much.
There's like rules at certain clubs with alcohol that are because of certain people like you.
Yeah, like
all
me.
Right, now it used to be you can have all the drinks you want. Now it's like 2 free drinks.
Yeah,
it's guys like
because
you.
of me, I fucked that up for everybody. Just so
Ortiz
you guys
rule.
know, it's me. The Alex Ortiz rule that you can only have 2 drinks.
4 free drinks, and now it's 2.
It's because of me.
Well, I hope you get your reels back up or whatever the social media is so people can see you out more often. You need to get back out there, man.
I'm
I know
actually
you
working
already
on it now. Well, I'm working on it now.
You were on the cruises for a while. So.
Yeah, and that kind of screwed everything up for me because cruises kind of, I thought.
Comfortable.
Yeah, you get comfortable. And the cruises, it's an imaginary thing. You think you made it because 500 people are coming to your show at this theater.
Yeah.
But they got nothing else to do. It's either you or trivia.
Right. But that's what it is on the road, too. A lot of these small towns where you do shows, and people ask me all the time, like, what's your favorite city? I'm like, probably the smallest city. I did a show in Slinger, Wisconsin 2 weeks ago. It was fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. And
There's
everybody
nothing
comes.
else to do.
So I was in, I was in Ohio, Sandusky. Mm-hmm. And after the show, the place was packed. We had a great show. And then I said, so what else is there to do? And they were like,
they laughed at
you.
Yeah.
There was nothing else to do but
I like to eat after shows, and 90% of the time places will just laugh at me. I'm like, where can I go get food? And they're like, it's 10 o'clock. Everything's been closed for 2 hours. Like,
but those are the shows. Like I did Minot, North Dakota.
Yeah.
One of the greatest shows I've ever had. Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Those towns appreciate it. They don't have anything else to do. You go to Miami, there's 50 things to do.
Right.
That's why they don't like comedy.
And then USO tours are just amazing too. But I can't get on those anymore because of background checks.
Oh.
So they do a background check and they're like,
do you have anything else on there besides the Skokie thing?
Well, I got pulled over weed in Michigan. That got expunged, or whatever, but it's still on my record in Indiana. even though it got expunged in
They
Michigan.
don't care about pot anymore.
In Indiana, they do.
Yeah.
It's still illegal. It's not even medicinal in Indiana.
Jesus.
And, I was a firefighter in Indiana, so when I moved to Indiana, that's where I stayed. That's where I met my wife and the kids. That,
Yeah.
I'm in Indiana now. I'm a Hoosier for like 30 years now. But it's still a verboten drug in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get that shit cleared up.
The wild thing is, if you go 20 minutes this way to Chicago or 20 minutes this way to Michigan, you're good.
Yeah.
Indiana's like the not cool house on the cool block.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just don't let anything happen there.
It sucks over there. The shows are fun though. I love it there.
I love Indiana. I love where I live now, but I'm still trying to. Like I said, it's a different kind of mentality in Indiana.
Sure. Well, Alex, we're out of time. I really appreciate you doing the podcast. Sorry I kept you so late.
Don't worry. You gave me coffee, dog.
Yeah,
That's
I gave
all I
free
needed.
coffee. Where can people find out more about your upcoming shows?
You can check me out on, I have a Facebook and of course Alex Ortiz, but Alex the Spigger Ortiz. And
what about Instagram? Are you on
Instagram, Funny Alex Ortiz. It's also the same thing on TikTok, Funny Alex Ortiz.
Oh, you're on TikTok?
Yeah,
too?
I just started a TikTok. So
see.
Yeah, but I started it and I got like 800 and some followers and I don't know what to do with it.
Figure that shit out.
Yes, sir.
Everyone go follow Alex Ortiz and tell him to come to your town.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex, for coming on the podcast.
I love you, dog. Just so you know, every time we come out and we hang out, it's always a good time.
I always feel like I owe you forever for that weekend. We had so much fun.
Dude, you're an amazing dude.
I didn't pay for any of the drugs, but I guess neither did you.
Yeah, neither did I. Nope. They all come free.
We are connected at the hip. Well, thanks, Alex. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening to another edition of Why Are You Awake? Now go to sleep.